Holmes wants Watson to identify the common link between the three murders. That is the fact all three victims were holding something when they died.
The bag of pastels, Holmes.
The bag of pastels. Indeed, Watson. If this woman had to defend herself against an attacker, why would she have held onto this bag in her hand? It didn't fall because this woman's hand tensed at the moment when she fell to the ground. Therefore, Watson, we know the killer distracted his victim's attention by making them take something out of their pockets. Why didn't he slit her throat like the others? He must have feared a struggle with this strong-willed woman. Why didn't he eviscerate her? Because Louis Diemschutz arrived.
Do you think the Whitechapel killer is behind this murder, Holmes?
Yes, and now this murder has been linked to its rightful perpetrator, it will take on deeper meaning when we have examined the facts from that night. Let's go to Mitre Square, where Catherine Eddows was killed. And make haste, Watson, as we have another murder to commit in 40 minutes. Here we are, Watson, Mitre Square. It took us a mere 20 minutes to get here. If the killer left Dutfield's yard around 1 o'clock, as we assume, he would have arrived here at around 1:20 a.m. We know that Catherine Eddows' body was discovered at 1:44 a.m. Catherine was released from prison around 1 o'clock, but we have no information as to what she could have been doing until her death. This place has 3 possible ways out. Let's see where they lead. As a precaution, I brought an old map of the area with me. It will help us get our bearings.
Let's hurry, Holmes. This neighborhood makes me ill at ease.
I think it's kind of foolish to Watson. It was foolish that Watson was asking, wait, whoa, you think this person was killed by Jack the Ripper? Yes! Obviously. So we need to find the 3 exits to this place, even though Holmes just presented a map which shows all 3 exits. So exit number
Church
1.
Passage. It must be opposite the Imperial Club at 16 to 17 Duke Street. Let's go to the end of this.
We're going to the end of this passage. I think we might actually meet someone here and talk to them for a while. Yes, that's right. Here we go. Here's a helpful person.
Hello, you must be Abraham Solomonovitch, am I right?
Yes, that's me. But I know you. You brought a lad to my place to take care of a cat, and I loaned you my mask.
That's me. May I present?
Dr. Watson, of course. Delighted. And you? I have known for a few days that you are a detective by the name of Sherlock Holmes. Is that so?
You don't miss a thing, do you? It was the children who gave me away, am I right?
They didn't want to, but I gained their confidence by offering them a small comb and half a cake.
They made a good deal out of it, so I don't blame them. However, I must request, as a personal favor, that you do not reveal my identity.
You have my word. Curiosity is just killing me, as you may have guessed. Would it be breaking an oath to confide in me the nature of the investigation that you are leading?
I find it interesting that the sign in the background says Rabbi Adler, because Irene Adler is a major character in the Sherlock Holmes stories. Okay, well, she's not a major character. She only appears in the one story. But still, she's an interesting Sherlock Holmes character, so I think it's kind of a joke that they put her last name here in this game.
Does this spot where we are now in Mitre Square mean anything to you?
A demon lives in this city, Mr. Holmes. These unmentionable acts degrade the human race and put the Jewish community in terrible danger.
Lots of rumors are circulating, but they are but rumors. I see you're leaving the Imperial Club. It's a stone's throw away from Mitre Square, and the 2 recent murders were most probably discussed in there. Do you know if anyone from the club saw or heard anything that night?
Yes, Mr. Holmes. That night, 3 members of our club saw a woman talking to a man at the very spot where we are standing, a few minutes before the body was found at the end of this passage.
Fantastic, Holmes.
Calm yourself, Watson. There is nothing at the moment to suggest it was the victim. Can we meet these members?
I am afraid that won't be possible. As soon as the police heard the evidence of these men, they were sworn to silence.
I understand.
But you are working for the good, and I must tell you what I know. One of the 3 men, my friend Joseph, left that night with 2 other members of the Imperial Club, Harry and another Joseph. It was around 1:35 a.m., perhaps a bit earlier. When Joseph, not my friend, but the other, the Aldgate butcher, exited, he saw a man and a woman in discussion at this very spot where we are.
These men must have been about 16 feet away from the couple.
That's about right. So Joseph, the butcher, said to the other 2, while pointing at the couple, "Look, I don't like going home alone when I see this kind of people here." My friend Joseph looked at them without noticing anything strange and didn't understand what he meant. They had the look of 2 rather unkempt people, but no more than that.
So, we have some witnesses, some secret witnesses to the 4th murder. This is very good to know. Abraham, can we get some very specific testimony from Joseph?
After the murder, did these 3 men tell the police what they had seen?
Not quite. Harry stated that he hadn't seen the couple. As for Joseph, the butcher, even though he was the one who commented on them and pointed them out, said that he couldn't remember anything except that the man was about 3 inches taller than the woman, who was 5 feet tall, no more. My friend Joseph, on the other hand, did his best to cooperate with the police.
And what did your friend Joseph say? What did this man and woman look like?
The man must have been 30 years old, about 5 foot 7 inches, light complexion, and a fair moustache. He wore a loose, dark jacket, a grey cap, and a red scarf around his neck. But he said that he only saw him for a brief instant, and it would be impossible to recognize him.
And the woman?
He only saw her from behind. She had her hand on the man's stomach and seemed to be pushing him. He said that he remembered that she was small, was wearing a black jacket and a black bonnet. After his testimony, the police took him to see the clothing of the deceased, and Joseph said that they looked identical to those of the woman he had seen. Like I already said, he only glanced at the 2, as he was headed with the others in the direction of Aldgate.
One final question. The Imperial Club is a Jewish club, isn't that correct?
Indeed.
Thank you for your help, Mr. Solomonovitch.
Bah, it was nothing. We must at all cost prevent this demon from striking again, and the police seem to have some difficulty in doing that. I wish you the best of luck, Mr. Holmes.
So we have another very thorough description of the killer.
Closed.
Clearly it was not Jack the Ripper's best night. He killed 2 people, and both times there was a Jewish witness. So let's see, how do I get back down the hallway? Here we go. Okay, back down the hallway. Holmes said we wanted to find all 3 exits to this area. That was exit number 1. Let's see if we can find the next exit. I'm going to follow along this wall here if I can. No, that was the exit I came from. Hey, Watson, where'd you come from? No, this was the exit I came from, right? So hard. Okay. I'm going to walk here. Walk here. Walk forward. Oh, dear. Alright, there we go. No. Don't. Holmes and Watson are walking over each other, and that That's not helpful in the slightest. It also doesn't help when the game keeps switching perspectives on me. That is not helpful.
Now then, we will need a lantern.
Oh, we need a lantern? Okay, let's look for a lantern. Oh, yeah, yeah. Apparently that's the scene of the murder. Look at all that stuff we can examine. Watson, out of my way. Yeah, all the stuff we can examine. All right there. Okay, so the lantern's gonna be here. I'm switching the first-person mode. I'm sorry. But, trying to find the exits was just too difficult. So
This is Mitre Street, from where Watkins, the constable who found the body, came. I have no reason to go that way.
So that's exit number 1, or number 2. So we did that exit. We did this exit. Is there another exit in this direction? It doesn't look like it. That looks like a wall. It's hard to tell. That's a doorway. So then where's the third exit to this area? We had the map, right? It said documents. Okay, so here's the map. We went through Church Passage there. St. James Passage is over there. So let's see, because I found Mitre Street and Church Passage. Let's find St. James Passage. It should be right here, shouldn't it? There it is. Okay, yeah, that was a really well hidden passage because it's the
This
exact
dark and
same
narrow
color as
passage leads
everything
to
else.
St. James's Place. Well, let's find the spot where Eddows' body was discovered.
All right. Now that we have found all 3 exits and we've talked to Abraham and gotten the lantern, we can examine the crime scene.
Watson, we are now in the exact spot where poor Eddows tragically ended her days.
This spot is very dark, Holmes.
That is probably why our murderer chose it. Turn on the light, Watson.
I have the light. How do I use... I think I just grab the light here and then use it.
Now then, we will need a lantern. Now then, we will need a lantern.
Okay, hold on a second. This is a puzzle. So, you see this pack of matches? Where did the matches come from? Holmes did not have those matches earlier. They just magically appeared in his inventory.
Take the lantern, Watson.
Just so we could have a puzzle of lighting a lantern, suddenly matches appear in our inventory. That is odd. I am not going to show the murder investigation in this video because it is a particularly disgusting murder investigation. Lots of blood and mutilation. I don't want to show that, so I'm going to skip over that part.
My goodness, Holmes, it was a slaughter.
Understand, Watson, that our killer had neither the time nor the conditions to bother with the niceties. He had no more than 7 or 8 minutes at most to kill the woman, open her up, and all the while in total darkness.
Holmes, it's a woman, a poor victim you're talking about.
Consider all the time this man lost and the risks that he actually took by cutting the victim's face and the lower abdomen in around 20 precise spots, especially the lungs and the liver. These attacks, which I considered gratuitous, are in fact nothing of the sort, and have as much sense as the removal of the organs. Watson, we must now consult our timeline. We began in Dutfield's yard, but this time we will try to recreate the actions of certain people, in this case, those of the 2 policemen.
Alrighty, so at 8:30, a policeman entered this area.
1:30 a.m. P.C. Watkins didn't see the corpse while on his rounds. If P.C. Watkins did his rounds properly, and there is no reason to doubt this was the case, as he discovered the corpse a quarter of an hour later, the murder hadn't yet taken place, and there was no one in Mitre Square, unless they were hidden among the shadows. Enter Mitre Square via Mitre Street, Watson, and stop and try to see me with the lantern. I will be where poor Eddows' corpse was.
Okay, this is a pretty good experiment. We're gonna see if the police officer... I need to use my lantern. Use the lantern. Yes, I need to use my lantern. and see if the police officer could have possibly missed the corpse. Is that it?
I see you, Holmes.
There we go.
Perfect, Watson. Let's look at our timeline, Watson.
So that's how close he had to be in order to notice that corpse. We are therefore concluding that the murder had not taken place at 1:30.
Very good, Watson. Thus we can categorically state that the murder had not yet occurred at 1:30.
Now at 1:35, the man and the woman were in discussion. They were seen by the witnesses, the two Josephs.
1:35 a.m. A man and a woman are arguing at the entrance of Church Passage. The man came from Aldgate.
And then 1:42, the body was discovered, correct?
1:42 a.m. PC Harvey arrives in Mitre Square. It should be noted, Watson, that the constable didn't enter Mitre Square. He could not have seen the corpse lying on the ground. But would he have been able to see a man sitting or standing? Go to the Church Passage entrance, then come back and try to see me while holding your lantern. I will stay at the spot where the victim was discovered.
Alright, so now we're going to pretend to be the other police officer. How close did this officer have to get in order to notice somebody standing in the area? I mean, I can see Holmes here from a distance, but that's because I know he's
I
there
see you,
and I'm
Holmes.
looking for
You
him.
had to proceed into the square in order to see me, something Harvey didn't do. It is possible that the killer was still there. 1:42 a.m. PC Harvey arrives at Mitre Square, but does not go in. The murderer may well have still been there.
Alrighty. So that was kind of a cool experiment. We concluded that, hey, this one policeman would have seen the killer, and this one policeman didn't see the killer. Couldn't have seen the killer, because he didn't walk far enough. But the body was, in fact, discovered 2 minutes later.
1:44 a.m. The body is discovered. Let's put the murder of poor Eddows on the timeline, Watson.
Well, clearly she was killed sometime before the body was discovered. Sometime around here. Oh yeah, look. Perfect match. Because somebody saw the woman alive, right? So she had to have been killed after that, but before the police discovered the body.
1:35 and 1:42 a.m. The murder would appear to have taken place between these times, that is to say, within 7 minutes.
Agreed, Holmes. But does this really prove that our killer had the time to perpetrate these two murders?
Let's look at our timeline, Watson.
Okay, we compare this to our previous timeline, because this was the stuff we did in the previous timeline. This is the current murder. So it took us 20 minutes to go from point A to point B. Did the culprit have enough time between the two murders? Yes! Look! Plenty of time. There's like 15 minutes left over, even.
There, Watson. We are now certain that the murderer really had the time to commit these two murders.
Incredible!
Let's look at our deduction board, Watson.
Of course, Jack the Ripper must have moved very, very quickly from one location to the other, but Jack did have enough time to commit both murders. So let's go back to our deduction board. As Holmes was saying, deduction board over here, we're going to deduce all this stuff based on the clues we got while examining the corpse. And I did cut out that part where we examined the corpse because it was disgusting. We got to see all these things that were removed. So body parts removed, more body parts removed, more body parts removed, other body parts cut, other body parts removed and cut. So the killer clearly knows about anatomy. Yes. Okay, a thimble was found next to the victim, so the victim was holding the thimble when she died. That would match with the other three murders, because we determined with the other three murders that the victim was holding something when she died. So over here, the items were clearly meant for a woman, so they belong to the victim and not the culprit. We are confirming that the murderer searched the victim. Sort of like with the second victim, where the culprit took her things away and put them into orderly piles at her feet. The exact same thing happened here. In fact, that's going to be one of the things we're talking about right now. So the items at the victim's feet are orderly, and a piece of her apron was cut. So we are concluding, just like we did with the second victim, that the murderer is very organized and unfeeling. The central incision. So the opening cut was very large and oh, yuck. Okay. So the murderer is just like an animal, fiercely destroying this poor woman. Alright, so the blow was fierce and instantaneous. She died instantly. So, the wound is the same as victim number 3. And we're also deducing that the murderer is right-handed, which we've kind of figured out from the other investigations. We've got a right-handed killer. So, this person died pretty much the same way as victim number 3. Victims 3 and 4, they were killed pretty much within an hour of each other, so it does make sense that they died in similar ways. Therefore, we are confirming they were killed by the same person.
This spot is making me nauseous. Can we not head back, Holmes?
We certainly can't, Watson. We have one final point to address. Do you remember the piece of white apron that was missing just now? It was found just a few steps away from here, at the entrance of a building. That's where we must go.
This is something else we need to look into. Victim number 4, part of her apron was cut. Her apron piece was found here.
Let's go. There's the spot, Watson. By night, Goulston Street is deathly silent, which will permit us to carry out a fair few experiments. Let's find the entrance where the piece of the victim's apron and the mysterious chalk message were found.
I do not like this segment of the game. I think this puzzle is unfair. What we want to do is find the entryway where the graffiti is. How am I supposed to know where the graffiti is? I've never been to this area before. In fact, I haven't heard about this graffiti before. Was it mentioned at some point earlier in the game and I just wasn't paying attention? It's hard to find the spots. It's actually not here. It's opposite of here. You see the sign for Solomonovitch?
Look at these signs, Watson. We are in the Jewish High Street.
It's going to be on the opposite side of the street. Over here. So you'll notice I can press the space bar to examine everything in the area, right? You press the space bar, it shows you everything of interest in the area. It only shows off the signs. It doesn't show off this important entryway. According to the spacebar, there's nothing of interest in the entryway. And you can get very, very close to this entryway. Look how close I am. This is how close I am to the entryway. And the game says, nope, you haven't solved the puzzle yet. You have not found the entryway yet. So it is very easy to walk right by this entryway and not know this is the important one you're looking for. The graffiti is not here. There's no graffiti here, so you can't recognize it by the graffiti. You're actually supposed to recognize it by the piece of apron, which is here on the ground. Now, you'll notice that piece of apron looks like a piece of paper on the ground. And we have lots of pieces of paper just all over the ground. Holmes is standing on one there. Let's go to the other side of the street. Oh, hey, there's another one. Out of the way, Watson. There's another one. Oh, there's another one. So, the important clue looks just like another piece of trash that's on the ground, like all the other pieces of trash. And I've complained enough. So, this is the solution to the puzzle. You want to go in this entryway.
There's the spot where the apron and the message were found by PC Long. Now, let's recreate the scene. Remember, Watson, it was raining that night. Find me something with which to mimic raindrops hitting this wall while I write something with my chalk.
The Jews are not the men that will be blamed for nothing. But what does it mean?
Holmes is going to answer that question in a moment.
Have you found something for us to pour water from, Watson?
Find a container and some water. Let me remind you that it's nighttime and the street is deserted, Holmes.
So again, we have to go down the street, and this time we are looking for various items to pick up. I think there's like 3 or 4 items. They're mostly here in these shop areas. I think these are shops, right? These are stalls that people sell their wares from during the day.
That may come in handy. Who knows?
All right, we have a rope, and over here we have another item.
An old wooden pole. A merchant probably threw it out.
I think we might have a hook somewhere. Alright, so there is another item over here. It's inside that stall. Can you see it? No, I'm pressing the spacebar and it's not showing up inside the stall. Let us get a little bit closer. Do you see it? Do you see it? Nope, don't see it yet. Do you see it? Do you see it? Nope, I still don't see it. Ah, now I can see it. Okay, so now I'm close enough. So this only highlights my complaints that the spacebar trick,
That may
which
come in
shows off
handy.
everything
Who
you
knows?
can look at, doesn't really work on this street. Whoever programmed the spacebar in this particular segment of the game missed a couple of spots. Alright, so here we want to put these items together, the pole and the pole. Then we're going to tie them together with a rope. We are also going to kick this box. We're going to kick it 3 times. That way we can reach the watering can. The watering can, you're saying? What watering can? Do you see the watering can? Do you see it? No. No, you can't, because it's off screen. It's off screen. It's up here above me. So it's really, really, really easy to miss this particular item. Yeah, even when I stand on this table, you can't see it. You have to go in the first person mode in order to see this item.
A watering can. That's what I need. But I can't reach it.
Alright, so I'm going to grab the pole with the hook. And I get the watering can. Great, and now I need to find a water barrel, which I think is on this side of the street. Also, the navigation in this area isn't the best. You'll notice I'm trying to move Watson down the street, but there's no good place for him to stand. Ah, there we go, found it. Cool. Oh boy. Yeah, so in conclusion, this particular short segment, it's only about 6 or 7 minutes. This particular short section is very difficult, and I had lots of problems with it, hence all of my complaints about it. We will be returning to this spot later on in the game, very close to the end. Not now, though. Now we're just going to wrap it up. We got the watering can, and we're going to give it to Holmes, and that will bring an end to this investigation.
Have you found something for us to pour water from, Watson?
Yes, I have. It's right here in my hands.
Yes, I have, Holmes.
For whatever reason, the game switches to Sherlock Holmes because we need to play as Sherlock Holmes to click on the wall.
If this message were written by the killer, then it would have been lying in this entrance for up to 35 minutes before being discovered. Let's find out in what state it must have been. This message could not have withstood an entire night in the rain. During the investigations carried out on the night of the double murder, PC Hulse inspected the entrances of this street around 2:20 a.m. and confirmed to have seen nothing out of the ordinary. At 2:55 a.m., 35 minutes later, PC Long found Catherine Eddows' piece of apron and the message in chalk. This message would not have withstood a whole night in the rain, as had I continued to water it for a little longer, I would certainly have erased it. It was written, therefore, at the moment when the piece of apron was dumped. This substantiates PC Hulse's statement, which stated he had seen neither of these during his rounds. After its discovery, it was guarded and protected from the rain which was subsiding, which explains why it was still legible when it was erased at 5:30. My dear Watson, when you met P.C. Smith on his rounds in the street, where was he? On the pavement or in the middle of the road?
In the middle of the road, Holmes, without a shadow of a doubt.
Good. You will go down the street with your lantern as if you were a policeman on patrol, using Smith's position as a guide. As soon as you see the entrance where I used the watering can, tell me if you see anything.
So once again, we are pretending to be a police officer, and how close does the officer have to get in order to notice anything? Let's see.
There, Holmes.
Here.
From here, I can see something written.
Can you read it?
No.
Do you see the white rag, Watson?
I can't see anything written, honestly, from this distance. Yeah, I cannot tell that the graffiti is there from this distance. You can kind of see the rag, but not the graffiti.
I see something on the ground, but I'm not sure if it's what you were talking about.
P.C. Long, who found the piece of apron, was examining the interior of the entrances, and yet nobody would have predicted that this piece of material would be discovered on the very night of the murder by a policeman on patrol.
What are you trying to get at, Holmes?
Let's look at this message on the wall, Watson. The Jews are not the men that will be blamed for nothing. In other words, the Jews were possibly blamed for nothing, but that will no longer be the case. Reading this message naturally begs one question. What would that be, Watson?
Why?
Indeed, Watson, why? For what reason would one have the right to blame the Jews in the future? Remember, Lestrade was killed near a club for socialist Jews, Eddows not far from a synagogue and the Imperial Club, and finally, this piece of apron dropped here. This building is occupied by Jewish families. The killer really did go out of his way to incriminate the Jews living in the area.
It's a bit obvious, Holmes.
Yes, but with the rumors, Watson, the author of this message would have received a response to his strategy.
You are right, Holmes. So perhaps it's a good thing this message was erased.
Whoever took the decision to do this is a man of great wisdom and courage. Let's return to Baker Street, Watson. I have some pipes to smoke to help me think more clearly.
Let's go back to Baker Street. Home, sweet home.